With all the content we're seeing around George Floyd's death at the hands of police, social platforms are working to filter through what's productive and what isn't. But when does moderation become censorship? We'll talk about it next on Keep It Social. What's up, y'all? I'm Paris, and this is Keep It Social, the show that brings our timelines to life. I'm here with my co-host, Terrence, and today's guest to take a closer look at the stories that caught our attention and yours on social. Hi, Terrence. How are you doing?
I'm doing as well as anyone can be in this moment, right? It's a lot going on. How are you today?
I'm hanging in there. That's all we can ask. And you're right, there is a lot going on, both outside our doors and on social. In fact, Twitter fact-checked and hid 2 tweets from President Trump, including one the platform said glorified violence. And that tweet, the president called George Floyd protesters thugs and said, quote, "When the looting starts, the shooting starts." Facebook neither flagged nor deleted a similar post by the president. And since then, violence and protests have erupted across the country, and the White House has remained largely silent. So to help us unpack all of this, we're joined by Bloomberg News reporter Sarah Fryer, who joins us from San Francisco. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming back to join us. So tell us, was Twitter practicing moderation with the president, or was it censorship?
What Twitter was doing was adding context to Trump's tweets. So in the first instance, when they fact-checked the tweets, it was basically putting a little link at the bottom with a click here to get more information about mail-in voting, because Trump had said that mail-in voting leads to fraud, which is, as we know, not true. And then in the second instance of Trump tweets, with the looting leads to shooting, they said that that violated their policies against glorifying violence. So for the first time, they hid the tweet behind a little dialogue box that if you clicked on it, you would get to see the tweet. But you at least had that warning that this is going to glorify violence. And Facebook didn't take the same action because they said that it was actually a state actor warning about potential military action. So they thought that that was something that was an exception to their glorifying violence policy. It all got very complicated. Now Facebook employees are rising up. Twitter employees are getting a lot of praise for taking action. And both companies are going to have to figure out how consistent to be or whether to change their policies in the lead up to the election in November.
Mm-hmm. Right. And Facebook employees even walked out, like staged a virtual walkout, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, there's nothing to walk out of since they're not in their offices, but
Right.
they've been tweeting, they've been saying, listen, I disagree with our policies. We are not showing up the way we should be showing up. This is inexcusable for us to just kind of allow Trump to do this on our platform. Of course, it did erupt into violence this weekend. Those tweets were last week. Those Facebook posts that said the exact same thing happened last week. And of course, over the weekend, a lot of people ended up hurt by police. And so this is something that employees are very upset about. And for the first time, we're really seeing them voice their concerns with their employer, which is not something you see a lot from Facebook employees.
I'm thinking about the tweet where it says, "When the looting starts, the shooting starts." I was one of those people who said, "Hey, everyone, I reported this tweet for inciting violence." And so I'm thinking about that in the context of censorship and moderation, right? Because like you said, the tweet was hidden behind this display description or, this little warning letting you know that, it's been blocked or you no longer can view it. And Twitter followed that up and did actually remove it for a period of time and then allowed the tweet to come back and still stay on the platform. So I'm guessing, Sarah, for you, what was your mindset? What was your thought process when you saw them, react to what was happening and then come back and allow it to then, stay on the platform, stay in the space?
so many tweets have come right up to the line of what is against Facebook's policies and Twitter's policies, and some have arguably gone over the line and yet remained up. So it was quite stunning to see Twitter take action on that after having not taken action on any Trump posts for so long. People thought like, wow, like this is never going to happen, and yet it happened. The thing I want to caution against is using the word censorship, because it is not private corporations that guarantee us First Amendment rights. The First Amendments are guaranteed. Congress shall create no law. I mean, it's a government rule. And actually, Facebook and Twitter both have a First Amendment right to take down or leave up whatever content they want to.
Mm-hmm.
And they've won some cases after taking down, people who then later sued to say they were censored. They have won in court using that argument. So I think that this whole debate over whether they certainly do have a lot of power over our rhetoric, a lot of power over what we see. But I think in this case, you can't argue that Trump didn't get his message out. In fact, by obscuring the message, it probably drew more attention to the. We've been talking about it on multiple platforms, including this one. So we can't say that Trump was censored in this instance, because maybe it's even been amplified, but Twitter has added its own context to that. And I think the other thing we need to remember is that these companies can't address all content this way because they simply don't have the human network to do it. They don't have enough employees, enough contractors, enough people looking at all of the posts of every person. There are almost 3 billion people who use Facebook properties. There are hundreds of millions of people who use Twitter. So for the company to be consistent across the board about how they apply these things, it's going to be very difficult.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's important that you're pointing out that this is a state actor that they're doing this with, right? Because then it kind of raises this point of it's a public awareness thing. It's maybe even a public safety thing. And I get where Facebook was coming from with wanting to say, well, people need to know that violence is happening. We're going to leave it up. But I think it seems that Twitter is coming from this perspective of, yes, we have free speech in this country for, like you said, for private citizens, private entities. But when it comes to our public officials, there has to be some sort of accountability, especially considering the moment, considering the gravity of the moment.
Well, let me just clarify. I'm not saying that public officials have more right to. Certainly, their speech should be more scrutinized. Everyone who's a public official has a different right to, not be libeled, or there's a higher standard for
right.
For that sort of thing, as you know. But the private, the citizen rules that we all follow as citizens of the United States, the rules about like our free speech is protected, those rules also apply to corporations. Their free speech is protected.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a right to get rid of whatever content they want to, and they do that. I mean, they take down memes that they think might violate content standards. They take down posts that are too sexual. Like all of that stuff is not considered censorship as much as it's considered, they just have to clean up their platforms. Some of it for legal reasons.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So who do we think got it right here between Facebook and Twitter? With Facebook not really doing anything.
Did anyone really get it right though?
No, I mean, everyone's figuring it out as they go along. I think this is very new. What I'm fascinated by is that these companies have had a pretty strong stance that they've taken on coronavirus misinformation. They've said that if you give faulty medical advice, like say you tell someone to drink bleach or to, hold your breath for 100 seconds and you don't have coronavirus, that kind of stuff they will take down immediately. Now, what happens if a politician running for office says that kind of thing? Are they going to take it down? So far, Facebook and Twitter have never removed anything that Trump has said. But if they skirt close, so far, Trump has also couched a lot of his advice in opinion. But if he were to say something that could be damaging to health, that's when Facebook and Twitter have said that would cross the line and they'd have to take it down. So I'm really curious as to when we get close to the election, when the virus is still a problem, if those mixes of the policy, the exceptions that they make for politicians, and the hard line that they take on coronavirus misinformation, when those things intersect, if that's going to be a problem for them.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's only 6 months into this year, and a lot has happened online, and we have
oh my God, 6
a little
months
while to go to this election. So we'll be keeping an eye out. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Well, that's it for us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on our social channels, and let us know what you'd like to see on the show. We'll see you next time. And until then, what should they do, Terrence?
Keep it social.
A production of WGBH.